Hello, everyone. This is chapter number 13, Organisms and Population. And in continuation with this chapter, in continuation to the chapter, this is video number 2. And in this video, we would uh, discuss about responses to abiotic factor. Children, during the course of million years of existence, many species would have evolved a relatively constant internal environment that permits all biochemical reactions and physiological functions to proceed with maximum efficiency and thus enhances the overall fitness of the organism. So, what is homeostasis? Organisms maintain a constant internal environment despite varying external environmental conditions. Now, how do living organisms cope up with the environment? This is possible by the following processes, that is regulate, conform, migrate, and suspend. Now, let us understand each one of them one by one. Now, what is regulate? Some organisms maintain homeostasis by physiological and behavioral means. Such organisms are called regulators. It is the maintenance of homeostasis by physiological and behavioral means. It ensures a constant body temperature, that is thermoregulation, and constant osmotic concentration, that is osmoregulation. All birds and mammals, that is those who are warm-blooded animals, and very few lower vertebrates and invertebrates, they can maintain constant body temperature. Now, thermoregulation in mammals. How do mammals maintain their body temperature? The success of mammals is mainly due to the ability to maintain a constant body temperature. In summer, when outside temperature is more than the body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius, and if the outside temperature is more than that, they sweat. Humans sweat. This results in evaporative cooling and brings down the body temperature. And in winters, when the outside temperature is much low than the body temperature, we shiver. Shivering is a type of exercise that produces heat and it raises the body temperature. Now, if you see to this graph, if you see this graph, if we draw a graph between internal level and external level, this red line shows regulators. They maintain constant body temperature, whatever the external factor may be. But what are conformers? The second one, that is conformers. Nearly 99% of mammals and nearly all plants cannot maintain their constant body temperature. Their body temperature and osmotic concentration change with the surrounding conditions, that is called as conformers. You can see as the external level is changing, the internal level is also changing. So it goes straight. These are conformers. In aquatic animal, osmotic concentration of body fluid changes with that of the ambient osmotic concentration. Now, we all know that thermoregulation is an energetically expensive process. Children, you will never find small animals in cold areas. In cold regions, small animals are rarely found. Like, for example, shrews and hummingbirds, you cannot see in cold areas. Do you know the reason why? This is because heat loss or heat gain is a function of surface area. The small animals have large surface area relative to their volume. They lose body heat very fast in low temperature. They have to expend more energy to generate the body heat through metabolism. And so, very small animals are rarely found in cold areas. Now, if you see to this graph, you can see one more line which shows partial regulators. What are partial regulators? Some species have evolved the ability to regulate, but only over a limited range of environmental conditions. Only over a limited range of environmental conditions they can regulate, beyond which they simply conform. See, you can see over here, beyond it is only conforming. So they are partial regulators. Now, if the stressful conditions are localized, students, if the stressful conditions are localized or remain only for a short duration, then organisms have two other alternatives for survival, and that is migrate and suspend. So let us understand what is migrate first. Migrate is the temporary movement of organism from the stressful habitat to a more hospitable area and return when favorable conditions reappear is called migrate. Many animals, especially birds, move away temporarily from the stressful habitat. And this you can see that during winter in Kyolado National Park, Bharatpur, Rajasthan, it is a host for migratory birds that is coming from Siberia and other extremely cold regions. Then the second way to overcome the stressful condition, if it is localized or remain for a short duration, is suspend. In bacteria, fungi, lower plants, they form spores. Spores are thick walled, and these spores help to survive unfavorable conditions. And whenever suitable conditions come back, return, then they germinate. If we see higher plants, seeds, and some vegetative reproductive structures help them to tide over this stressful condition. How? By reducing the metabolic activity. Children, seeds are what? Seeds are dormant. They are not dead. In seed, the metabolic activity is highly reduced and they germinate whenever the favorable condition comes back, like, for example, moisture and temperature. Another example in animal, the just now I told you the two examples in plants, but in animals, they will overcome this localized stressful condition either by hibernation, estivation, or diapause. Hibernation is what? It is winter sleep. Like, for example, bear, frog, they go into hibernation during winters. And it is an example of escape of time. Talking about estivation, estivation is summer sleep. For example, snail and fish, go into estivation to avoid heat and desiccation. Diapause. Diapause you see in zooplanktons that you find in lakes and ponds. They enter a stage of suspended development where the development is suspended. That is known as diapause. So this is what we have seen, that how the organisms, whether plants or animal, they respond to abiotic factors and cope up with the abiotic factors or stressful conditions. Now, next, let us understand what is adaptation. Adaptation is an attribute of the organism that enables the organism to survive and reproduce in the habitat. Adaptations can be of three types. It can be morphological adaptation, physiological adaptation, or behavioral adaptation. Over a long period of time, many adaptations have evolved and are incorporated into the genes. And so they have got genetically fixed. Now let's see the very first adaptation in kangaroo rat. We know that kangaroo rat is a desert animal and the adaptation is physiological adaptation. The internal fat oxidation gives water as a byproduct if there is no external source of water. And second, it has the ability to concentrate the urine so that minimum volume of water is excreted out. Now, adaptation in desert plants. This you all have studied from in your junior classes also. For example, cactus. There is presence of thick cuticle on the surface of the leaf. Stomata is sunken. Both of the features help them to minimize water loss through transpiration. In class 11th, you have studied about CAM, a photosynthetic pathway where the stomata remains closed in the daytime, but in the evening, uh, it remains open and it takes in carbon dioxide at night and then uses up in the morning. Desert plant like opentia, you can see over here, opentia, have no leaves. The leaves are reduced into spines and photosynthesis is done by flattened stem. Now let's see to adaptation in cold climate. In cold climate, mammals of colder climate have shorter ear and limbs to minimize heat loss. This is known as Allen's rule. You can see over here. This is a seal. The limbs and ear is very small, short, because maximum heat is uh, evaporated from there. So this is Allen's rule. And these mammals, the ones which are found in colder climate, like for example, seal, they have a thick layer of fat known as blubber below the skin that acts as an insulator and reduces the loss of body heat. Now, some of the physiological and biochemical adaptation. There are some archaebacteria that are found in hot spring and deep sea hydrothermal vents where the temperature is more than 100 degrees Celsius. Archaebacteria flourish in these hot springs and deep sea hydrothermal vents because they have special enzymes and plasma membrane that help them to metabolize comfortably at high temperature. Then there are some fish that thrive in Antarctica water, which is the temperature is much below 0 degrees Celsius. And they also have two types of mechanism. One is freeze tolerance, where the extracellular space, that is the space between the cells, it contains ice nucleating proteins that form ice, and small amount of water is withdrawn from the cell, and thus cells have high solute concentration that protects them from freezing. And another way for them to thrive this temperature, to survive in this temperature, is freeze avoiding. Body fluids of these animals contain antifreeze solutes like glycerol, and these antifreeze proteins, which lower the freezing point of the body fluid below 0 degrees Celsius, thus ice formation is prevented and the animals remain active. Many marine and invertebrate fish live at a great depth in the ocean where the pressure is more than 100 times the normal atmospheric pressure. Then there are people living at high altitude, that is more than 3,500-meter high. Now, whenever we go to such an altitude, like we go to Manali or Mansarovar, then we feel altitude sickness. What are the symptoms? Nausea, heart palpitation, fatigue. Why it happens? This happens due to low atmospheric pressure, and the body does not get enough oxygen. Whenever we go to Leh, Ladakh, we are asked to acclimatize ourselves for a day. What happens when we acclimatize? Our body compensates for this low oxygen availability by increasing the RBC and the breathing rate, and by decreasing the binding capacity of hemoglobin. Then let us see the last, that is behavioral adaptation. Desert lizards bask in the sun and absorb heat when their body temperature is low, but they move into the shade when the ambient temperature starts increasing. Some species burrow in the soil to hide and escape from the above ground heat. So, these are some of the adaptations which we have studied. And with this, I finish this video over here. The third video will be on population. Thank you.